Hello, I'm Professor Margaret Rogers van Coops. I'd like to talk to you today about the loss of individuals. By that I mean the loss of an animal that passes over into the spirit world, the loss of a loved one, your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and of course the terrible thing when you lose a child, but also the loss of yourself, or the loss of a best friend, or a loss of a husband who's gone off to someone else. So loss comes in many forms, and I'd like to talk to you about loss in terms of the spirit world. A lot of people who basically believe that their loved one is passed on and is in the spirit world, and that's wonderful that you believe that. But there are a lot of people too who also believe that when you're dead, and you've got to put your body in the ground or burn it, and the spirit or soul that is will return to the oneness and never come back to you, never see you again. There are other people who believe in reincarnation, who will talk about that people are living life after life and will come back with friends and families and do another journey in exploring the strange and the unusual as well as the normal. So what do I do? Where do I come in with all of this? Well, I was born in 1942 during a bombing raid. In fact, they were cutting my cord when the bomb landed across the street. And the second one did the same when I was 3 years old, so I remember that one. But the thing is that during that time being on Earth, there were a lot of people who were dying. And the big question mark that most people came up with is, how do I really know that my husband who went to war and got killed on the front line is actually in the spirit world? I need a message. I need to know that they have passed over into the spirit world. And then there are other people who are saying, all these houses have been bombed in London and New York and other places eventually, wherever it was over the years. I've seen so many different places and different things happening. And I've jumped from war to current news. And I want you to know that even with those kinds of events, like the one in New York, and the two towers came down, I was able to bring back some of those people who passed over for those who sought my attention to know if their loved one was really on the other side. So as a medium, I can say to you that I've had more than enough proof of survival of loved ones who've come through me and given messages to their happy family who's very joyful to hear that they are alive in the spirit world. And of course when they come back either with their illness, disease, or the way they pass. So I don't like to know too much information. I like people to have a stone face, if you like, so that I can just attune through them to their loved one, get their loved one to come and speak, and then channel all that they have to say for them. And here I'm going to give you a little story. I'm sure the lady won't mind, no names mentioned. Several years ago now, she came to me with a question. She'd lost two of her children, and so I was very gladly and happily able to bring those two children to her, and they in their own way gave proof of their survival. For example, they mentioned the toys they used to play with. They mentioned that they were ill with a certain illness, and everything was 100% proof to her from each child as to how really amazingly accurate my ability was in bringing these two children to her. But the one thing she never asked me, and the one thing she really wanted to know, was given to her by her children. As we drew towards the end of this conversation of proof of survival of life after death, where they also mentioned Father and told about him, they suddenly said, "We want you to know that our brother does not have the disease. It's okay to have him tested." At that point, she burst into tears, hugged me to death, as it were, said thank you very much and left. Well, she went home with all this news, and of course it was all recorded so they could all listen to it. And as a result, the eldest son had the test. They put it off because they didn't want to face losing another child. And it came back negative. He didn't have the disease. And she called me to tell me. Isn't that a wonderful story where you can hear how two little kids could come back, please mum, prove who they are to dad, and bring a message of something that she hadn't mentioned to me that was absolute proof as far as she was concerned. Don't you want that kind of proof? Perhaps you do. Well, if you do, you can contact me, Dr. Margaret, that's Margaret, RVC, for Rogers Van Coops, that's my initials. So Dr. Margaret, RVC @gmail.com. Or you can call me at 928-733-3525, and we can talk about what your need is and make an appointment for you. And then we'll attune to your lost one or your loved one. But what about people who are still living? Sometimes people come to see me because they just can't get over the loss of the breakup of a relationship. It's hard. Because at least when someone's passed over, you know there's no way you can get to be with them again, ever again. So at least once you stop crying and get the proof of survival of life after death, you can go on with your life. But when you've got someone who's just living up the road, who is seeing you go with the kids, and who comes and gets the kids maybe to share them on weekends, it's difficult. It's a different situation. It's a loss with psychological hang-ups. Now, if you're suffering with this kind of relationship where you're sharing your children, sharing accommodation, sharing money, doing all sorts of things where it's tearing your heart apart, let me help you. We can look at the psychological, emotional aspects of the pain and suffering that you're going through. So contact me, Dr. Margaret, RVC @gmail.com, or call me at 928-733-3525, and I'll help you out. Be well. Bye.